Hi, this is Dominic from Paphos Life, and in today's film we're going from Kathikas to Peyia via the scenic route through Akoursos. So let's have the map up first of all, and we're going through Kathikas as you would to start, and then we're taking the turning just before the church, which will take us all the way down the very windy road to Akoursos, and then we're going to take the less travelled route to Peyia, and then finish off by going to the stadium where they've got their monthly market. Yes, my wife had a stall there this month. It was the first time she's done it for a few months because she's been ill, but thankfully she's on the mend now, so she was back with her stall. Anyway, we're into Kathikas, and we're going up the newly renovated road. I didn't used to go this route, but now they've given it a nice decent surface. It's more of the acceptable route to Kathikas from Strumby. And it doesn't squeak as much as the other one does. And if you've driven around here, you'll know what I mean. Right, this was filmed Sunday morning at around 11 o'clock, I think. So we're turning left here. If it carried on straight on, we'd be on the coast road from Peyia to Prodromi and Polis. But we turned left. And on our right is coming up, you have one of the Akoursos visitor centres. Well worth a visit. I'll just show you it when we get to it. There it is on the right. You can just see those red flowers there. And Kathikas is a very picturesque village. It's also a very good place to go for food because they've got a dozen or so restaurants there. Now you'll see some dark clouds in the distance. Fortunately, they didn't rain, especially on the market where my wife was, because I would have hated that. But they made their way up to Polemi, and when they got to Polemi, they rained there, and they rained big time. We had a lovely big storm there. There was a little bit of rain, when was it? Saturday morning, on the coast near Peyia. And there's been a bit of rain, not a huge amount though, elsewhere. But the forecast for the rest of the week is all sunny, with a few clouds later on. Anyway, we've left Kathikas. There was the sign there saying goodbye to Kathikas. And we're going to be approaching a very winding road that goes down into the small village of Akoursos. Now, there are quite a few side roads off here. I would be cautious exploring them if you're not in a four-wheel drive car, because a lot of them don't go anywhere, and you'll just end up in an increasingly deteriorating road, farm track rather, that just peters out into nothing, and then you might have to do some nasty reversing. I'm speaking from experience here. So unless you know where you're going, just stick on the main road. I mean, there are the occasional house up here and they'll have a nice drive. But whether you're on someone's drive or on a track that'll just peter out soon, you don't know. Countryside's very nice. Lots and lots of poppies around still. Much to my wife's delight. I hadn't noticed as I was driving how many I passed though. That's another good thing about this anamorphic lens. I get to see so much more than I saw when I was actually just driving. But also, because it's a narrow road, I tend to need to pay very close attention to what's happening ahead of me. And when I was doing this, I made a point of not going above 40 kilometres an hour for this part of the journey. So don't say I'm driving too fast. I'm not. It's the effect of having an anamorphic lens. If the worst comes to the worst, reduce the YouTube speed by sort of like 75% or something. So I will talk slowly. See, that's obviously someone's driveway. Now, some of the roads will actually lead to interesting places, and I've been meaning to for quite some time to explore them properly, and I will get round to it one day. But don't try it yourself, basically. Quite a few clouds there now. If you like our films, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and share them far and wide, and click on any notification bell you can see, etc. And if you want to help us out financially, go to our Buy Me a Coffee page at buymeacoffee.com/Paphos Life. They are gratefully appreciated, I can assure you, and they help, well, they buy us coffee for a start, but they also help pay for new lenses and our general day-to-day expenses. Now, coming down into Akoursos, you will see on your left at times there is a large cliff. Within that cliff, further down, is a cave. And this is no ordinary cave. It has a little legend associated with it. Indeed, I did an article on it back in 2017, believe it or not, 8 years ago. I was knocking stuff out. Called Akoursos Caves. And I'll read you a little quote from that, taken from the Fitzgerald's website. I don't even know if that website's still running, but they were a property company. Anyway, only a short distance to the north, along the windy road that curls up the hills, there is a plateau to the rear of a mosque. This plateau, named Leoni to Sakri, Hollow of the Fight, that means, was made famous by being the central battleground between two rival kings. Here, King Rose Petros, defending the village of Akoursos, defeated the aggressor, the King of Inia. I know you should never trust them. However, upon walking away from the slain King of Inia, King Rose Petros was shot in the back by an avenging archer of King Inia's troop. King Rose Petros was later buried in the cave of Ampa, which lies to the top of a cliff, whereas King Inia was buried in cave Papadimantra, which now is home to herds of goats. Time, it would seem, favours the benevolent. And the cave in the cliffs is, can we still see it? We're just coming up to it, I think, on the left. Unless there's bushes in the way. Yeah, you can just see it on the left there now. The grey cliff. And there's a hole in it, which is the cave. So that was where the good king was buried, supposedly. And the guy who features in the article that I did, it was paphoslife.com/blog/Akoursos_caves. I'll stick a link in the description as well. But he actually climbed up to it and he had a little film. There's a very nice, tiny little gorge that runs below it as well. So it's worth tracking that down. So now we're in Akoursos. Now there was a big fire here a couple of years ago, and lots of the landscape that we're going to be driving through was burnt to a crisp. But you'll see how quickly it's all recovered, thankfully, in a minute. Yeah, all the hills you can see in the distance now, they were essentially just blackened. But now there's no sign that there was ever a fire. I was surprised that even the half-burnt trees now look like fully recovered. Which is good to see. I mean, it shows that though devastating, the fires they have here do recover fairly quickly. Now, the only exception to this rule, I think, is the forest fire they had above Argaka. And that was on the first year that we came here in 2016. And I think because they had to use salt water to put it out just because of the ferocity of the fire, the salt in the water has bleached the soil so much that it's very difficult for anything to grow there now. Because I know it's taking an awful long time to recover. But so you might say, well, why didn't they just use reservoir water? Well, A, there wasn't that much water around, and B, they had to get the fire out, because if the rest of the forest had gone up, then you'd have had 100 times more damage and 100 times worse situation. So basically they had to sacrifice that bit of the forest just so that the rest of the forest didn't burn. And apparently it was all started by someone's barbecue in their back garden. It just goes to show how you always need to be vigilant and careful. But I remember that was the first year we moved here back in 2016. And I mean, even in Paphos, you could see half the sky was taken up with thick grey smoke. This is now where the anamorphic lens really comes into its own, though, I think, because the views you get with it are very nice indeed. I have to say I'm very pleased with the results I'm getting with that lens. I mean, reading articles about it, it said that, oh, you might not need to get it because you only need it for certain types of films. But it so turns out that those certain types of films are the sorts of films that I do. So, yippee is all I can say. And I'm glad that you all seem to like it as well. Especially now that I've reframed it so it goes into the standard 4K film that you get with YouTube. So that I don't have to faff around with the maps. Because drawing maps, in a lot of the cases, due to how Paphos is orientated, is a pain. Because the map route tends to go vertical, whereas you've got a nice wide view. So, and if I rotated the map 90 degrees, it would be meaningless to most people. So, these are one of the perils of having to produce content. Now, once I drove down here, back in, at a guess I'd say 2019, and there'd been so much rain that there were mudslides all along. And I remember stopping to film. I mean, this is in my pre-GoPro days even, so the quality of the film was pretty poor. But you had little rivers here. And one day we'll get rain like that again, because it used to be a pattern of every 7 years they'd have huge amounts of rain in Cyprus. And if that pattern continues, it'll mean this winter coming. And then what happened after that is the rivers that run through the valleys here and are normally just dried up with maybe a little trickle in the bottom, they were filled to the brim, overflowing, and all of the valleys looked like they had these huge white snakes going down them. And I didn't have the drone to film it at the time, but I'm ready for it this time because it was an amazing spectacle. Now, this part of the countryside is fairly barren. It's not got a lot going for it looks-wise. Further up, though, you get to that nature trail I featured. It wasn't a film I did, it was a blog article. Just before you get to Kathikas, there's a nice nature trail. It's a linear one in that, well, you don't have to, but if you follow the route, you go one way and then you have to come back the way you came. But it is possible to head into Kathikas on a farm track and come back by the main road. Though, to be honest, given the nature of that walk and its beauty, you're better off just retracing your steps. So if you want to see that, go and do a little trail through our blog articles. Actually, I think if you go into paphoslife.com/walk or walks, you might get just all the walking blog articles I've done. There's so much content on it. I do need to do, I think, a film that just summarises the website so people know what's on it. And because there's a lot of stuff. There's a business directory showing you where loads of shops are and stuff like that. And it's not too out of date either. It also lists restaurants, hotels. It's even got a beaches directory in it. And over 700 blogs. The trouble is there's so many of it now that all the if you like, the find and search algorithms used are a bit overloaded now. Sometimes your best way is just to Google a topic and then add Paphos Life as the final search engine, and you'll find out if you've done a blog article or not on it. Anyway, The road is now leading up into Peyia itself. It is definitely one of the less used routes into the village. Or I think Peyia qualifies as a town, surely. It's definitely big enough. There'll always be building work going on somewhere. Just had to check that I was actually recording the audio. I've done that before. I've waffled on for 20 minutes and then realised that I hadn't actually clicked record. And it's like the sort of thing you have in nightmares, just because it's just soul destroying knowing that you've got to sit there for another 20 minutes and make up the same sort of stuff again. Because none of this is scripted. I know you won't find that hard to believe. And you might say, why don't you write a script? It's just that for the amount of films we put out, there's not enough time. Even when I do a film like the definitive Paphos hotel strip guide, I mean, I had the list of hotels, but that's it. Just because I find it a lot easier just to make stuff up. Anyway, I hope it's not too unbearable to listen to. I'm sure this chap in front of us wasn't really sure where he was going. But we're patient. We moved to Cyprus to embrace the slower pace of life, so we don't mind when it hits us in the face. Oh, that's one thing I'll say actually. It seems to be becoming fashionable for YouTube creators to write films giving you tips on moving to Cyprus, etc. And I don't tend to watch other people's films because basically if I don't see them, I can't be accused of copying them, that sort of thing. But from the comments of them, you can see that they do stuff. They recommend agents for helping you get your visas, etc., etc. Now, I would, if possible, say don't use agents. Not for any particularly bad reason, but because you need, if you're moving out here, to get used to Cypriot bureaucracy. And you're not going to want to have to get an agent involved every time you need to do something involving the government in Cyprus. For instance, like when you go to get your car registration sorted out and things like that. I mean, some people even use them for that. I mean, the thing is, if you rely on them too heavily, when you're in an emergency, you're sunk because you won't be able to get someone who will be able to help you work out how you navigate the hospital or anything like that. You'll be on your own. So you're much better off, in my opinion, in dealing with it yourself. Now, obviously, in some instances, there are going to be complications. Like one of you might be from Ireland, one of you might be from Britain, for instance, and like, how does that work out for both of you, etc., etc. So I can understand on edge cases, for instance, why you might need to get someone involved to help. But for general terms, if you're coming to a country to live, learn how to live there. And the way you learn how to live there is by living there, not relying on other people to just hold your hand all the time. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm sure other people's opinions will differ. In fact, I know some of them will. But one other thing, I mean, a lot of the, I don't know if it's still the case, but when we were going through immigration and all that, it was quite obvious that a lot of these agents were giving backhanders to the staff in order to queue jump and things like that. And for the people doing it legitimately, that's quite annoying. So, and if you use in the past, as I said, I don't know what it's like these days, but in the past, using the agents, you were just enabling this. And that's another reason why we didn't want to. Simple as that. And I did ask at the time in various blog articles, etc., on our main Paphos Life website, if any agent can state categorically that they're not, don't give out bribes, etc. But I will be more than happy to publicise them, and I didn't get any takers. So there you go. And to be quite honest, if you are thinking of moving out here, the best thing to do is to sign up to various Facebook groups that cover most villages or groups of villages will have Facebook groups. Just go to them, be polite, and ask questions about the place. Find out what the places are like, etc. Do a bit of your own research. I mean, you'll get some people who say, "Oh, you should Google that," but just ignore them because they just don't have a life. Most people will be friendly, so go out and say hello. Anyway, we're coming up to Peyia Stadium now, and this is where Peyia Market is, and they run this every month. I'm not sure if it's the first Sunday of the month normally or the last, but Easter might have disrupted it this time, but here it is this month. It's normally a bit bigger than this, but there was another market over one of the golf courses had a one-off market, so some of the stalls had gone there. But my wife was here, and she hadn't been able to do a market for a while because she's been ill, but she's recovered enough to be out there selling her stuff again now. And she had a good time. She enjoyed herself. I'm saying that because the market was yesterday, and I filmed this yesterday. In case you're wondering. Yes, she actually appears. She's the lady in red you'll see right at the end. So it's Alex and her stall. If you're visiting Peyia Market next month, pop in and say hello to her. You can even buy one of last year's calendars still. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next film. Cheers. There she is.